Okay, welcome to another topic for O-level math paper 2. Today's topic is algebra word problems where you sort of have different sort of situations. This one is about mensuration. You can have speed time problems, you can have probability, you can have all those things where the situation then converts into either simultaneous equations or quadratic equations, and then you have to solve it further. Okay, so we'll be covering a lot of questions as we go on. Let's start. It says a rectangular card has dimensions 2y by y plus 3. A square of side y is cut from this. Okay, so if it's a square, then this side should also be y. The card remaining down shaded in the diagram has an area of 55. Okay, form an equation in y and solve it to find the dimensions of the rectangular card. Okay, so I'm looking for the outside rectangular card, the dimensions of that. So I will need the value of y basically. So how can I use this? Can I say that the shaded area is basically area of rectangle minus area of square? So the shaded area is 55. What is the area of the rectangle? It's length into width or length into breadth, whatever you want to call it. And the area of square is y squared. So 2y squared plus 6y minus y squared equals to 55. So 0. That's y squared plus 6y minus 55. Now you can check if this will factorize. It looks like it might. 55 can be broken into 11 and 5, which sort of give you that. If you are unsure, you can quickly go on and apply the quadratic formula minus b plus minus root of b square minus 4ac. So don't hesitate, go on and apply that if you feel more comfortable doing that. Right now, I just sort of figured out the factors quickly, so I went on and did that. So factoring out y and minus 5 from here. So I get y plus 11 and y minus 5. Y plus 11 equals to 0 and y minus 5 equals to 0. Y equals to minus 11 and y equals to 5. So there are two answers. I can only use one of them, of course. Okay, the side cannot be negative, therefore it should be 5. So the dimensions are 2 into 5, which gives me 10. And 5 plus 3, which gives me 8. So it was a rectangle that was 80 and then 25 got cut out of it. Okay, that's the first question. Let's check if our answers are correct. 10 by 8 is the right answer. Yes. Okay, moving on to the next question. Again, this one is also about mensuration. This time a triangle is removed from a rectangle. Let's see what it says. It says area rectangle ABCD has area 80. Triangle PCQ is removed from one corner of the rectangle. Okay, all of these are 4. BP, DQ are 4 by 4. Okay, the rectangle has an area of 80. AB equals to X. Write down an expression in terms of X for CP. I am looking for this. So this should be, if the entire thing is X, then this should be X minus 4, and that's plain and simple. Then it says explain why CQ. So CQ. Okay, so I know the area of the entire rectangle. So first, can I start off with that the area of the rectangle would be X into CB. Area of rectangle is 80. So CB should be 80 divided by X. If CB is 80 divided by X, then CQ is simply 80 divided by X. And you subtract 4 because this is 4. So CB is 80 over X minus 4. That explanation is more than enough for you to get full marks. Then it says show that the shaded area Y is given by this. So area of shaded region is area of rectangle minus area of triangle. So area of shaded, which is y, that's what the question is telling you. Area of rectangle is 80, that's what was given in the question. And half. Now for the triangle, what is the base? The base can be this. I can call this the base, half of x minus 4 into the height. Let's call this the height. They are 90 degrees. Since it's a rectangle, the height was c cubed. You just proved, even if you weren't able to prove, it's given in the question. So you need to do this question right. There will be no carry forward marking uh, when the answer is provided to you. Okay, so let's first expand this. So x into 80 over x, so that gives me 80x over x minus 4x minus 320 over x plus 16. Okay, so this x gets cancelled out. 80 minus half of 80 is 40. 2x. Okay, that would be plus, and that would be another plus 160 over x, and that would be minus 8. So 80 minus 40 is 40. 40 minus 8 is 32, plus 2x plus 160 over x. Okay, that's another algebra word problem. Now this might, I am assuming I skipped the other part to this question. You will be asked to draw a graph after this with experimental values and so on. Okay, so you get the full marks there. So you see correct smooth curve, which means that there was a curve supposed to be drawn in the next part, but I skipped that part because it was more towards graph of functions. Okay. Let's again look at this question. Again about mensuration. It says ABCD is a rectangle with AB equals to 10. Okay, so always whenever you are doing this question, just mark whatever is given to you. And AD is equals to 12. PQ is parallel to AB. Okay, all of these are rectangles then, and Y is the point of intersection of PQ and RS. BR and DP. BR is X and DP is also X. And a smaller rectangle and a shaded square are, so this one is a square. That's what you need to remember. So if that was X, this is also X, and this is also X, which means that I have the dimensions of the square. Write down an expression in terms of X for AR. Okay, so what's AR? AR is this one. So that's simply 10 minus X. I think that is simple. I can just go on and write that 10 minus X. Okay, what's the next one? AP. That's also simple. It's 12 minus X. Then it says the area of shaded rectangle is area of rectangle ABCD. So the entire rectangle over just the shaded rectangle is 3 over 4. Okay. So area of shaded rectangle, that would be 10 minus X into 12 minus X. That's what we saw earlier. Okay. And the entire rectangle is just 10 into 12. Equals to 3 over 4. That's a simple question from here then. It's just about expansion. So 120 minus 10x minus 12x plus x squared over 120 equals to 3 over 4. So 120 minus 22x plus x squared equals to 360 over 4. 90. Okay, so I get x squared minus 22x plus 30. That's the objective of this question, so I don't need to do it any further. And it says solve the equation, showing your answer and giving your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Remember, then when it automatically says you need to give it to correct to 2 decimal places, that means that this won't probably factorize. You will have to use the quadratic formula. Remember the quadratic formula, it's not provided to you in the formula sheet. You will have to learn it. So minus b plus minus b square 4ac over 2a. So I can then put it on a calculator and say that it's 22 plus minus. I don't need to show you every calculation as long as I've written that part. Even if I wanted to, I would have skipped the calculation that I'm showing you right now. But just for the sake of completeness, I'm doing this here, 364 over 2. Now the examiner knows that one of my answers is going to be 22 plus root 364 over 2 and 22 minus root of 364 over 2. There's often this question from students whether you can use a function on the calculator that sort of gives you the direct answer to a quadratic equation. Remember that the working that I did up to the second step at least is required in the exam. So you cannot do the entire thing on a calculator. You can just, do the final step. Okay, so I'm going to do that. 1 minus 22 and 30 in decimals, that is 20.54 and 1.46. 20.54 and 1.46. Let's just find the total unshaded area in the rectangle. Okay, so I think the simpler way of doing that question would be, okay, the first thing that we need to point out. Now I need to consider which value of x is valid then. Is it 20.454 or 1.46? Okay, if I take 20.54, notice that if I put in 20.54 here minus 20.54, this length becomes negative. So that means that I cannot take 20.54. I need to take 1.46. Area of unshaded is then very simple. It's just 10 into 12, which is the total area, minus the area of the rectangle. So 10 minus 1.46 into 12 minus 1.46 minus the area of the square. So the area was, the square was x by x. So that's just 1.46 squared. So I can just write this, put it on a calculator and get you the final answer. I don't need to show you every calculation on the exam. Remember that the examiner also does not expect that from you. You don't need to bother yourself needlessly with all these calculations. As long as you've plugged in the values right, you've shown what you are doing, you can go on and give me the correct answer. I'm going to show you the marking scheme in a bit and check if their answers are right as well. I should write this answer correct to 3 significant figures, so that's 27.9. Okay, see the amount of working. That's the working that I had to show you. Okay, so I could have, so just sort of just done this step. I could have ignored the formula. You don't need to write the formula. It doesn't get you any marks. And then this was also unnecessary. I could just write this and then give you these two answers, and that would be absolutely fine on the exam. Okay, in case why did I do additional steps? Just to be on the safe side that if I make a silly mistake, the examiner sees what the silly mistake is. And sometimes there is this leniency provided on to the examiner that, if it's a very sort of small error where you've, read the number wrong, or maybe not reading the number wrong, but you've written the number right in one place, and you've gotten the formula correct but plugged in the number wrong, then you might end up getting marks. It's not necessary, but there's no guarantee as well. So write the formula, just plug in one set of values, and then get your final answer out of it. Okay, moving on. It says Gita has n stamps. Rice has twice as many stems as Gita. So whenever you're doing this question, just start writing down 2n. Sanjay has 7 fewer stamps than Ravi. So Ravi had 2n, so 2n minus 7. Altogether, the three children have 108. So n plus 2n plus 2n minus 7 is 108. So that's form an equation in n and solve it. Now I have to solve it. 5n equals to 115. N equals to, okay, so form an equation, solve it to find the number of stamps that Sanjay has. So n is 23. Sanjay was 2n minus 7, so 2 times 23 minus 7. So 46 minus 7 is 39. Read the question carefully, what you need to find. Okay, another question from the same paper. It says Amira drives to work. Amira takes X minutes to drive the first 30 kilometers of the journey. So that's distance. For the first 30 kilometers. Okay, takes X minutes. So that's time. But the time is in minutes and the distance is in kilometers. It says kilometers per hour. So I should change this to hours. So I can say that this is X divided by 60. So show that at average speed. So the speed is distance divided by time. So the distance is 30. The time is X over 60. So 30 multiplied by 60 over X. So that gives me 1800 divided by X. Okay, then it says Amira's average speed in kilometers per hour for the first final 10 kilometers of the journey is this. Okay, her average speed for the first 30 kilometers of the journey is 8 kilometers slower than her average speed for the final 10 kilometers. Form an equation in X and show that it simplifies too. So whenever you have such a question, remember, see what the question is saying. It's saying that the one average speed was 8 kilometers slower than the other average speed. Most often this question is either a question on addition or subtraction. Okay, when it says one is more than the other, then I can say that the difference between the two would be 8. If I'm telling you that the two together add up to, let's say, 40 kilometers, then it's going to be an addition problem. Now I will keep this as a subtraction problem. So I can say that, let's say, this is speed 1 and that is speed 2. Okay, so speed 1 for the first is 8 kilometers slower. So I can say that speed 1 is the smaller number. So I can say that speed 2 minus speed 1 should equal 8. The difference in speeds should be 8. What is speed 2? It's 600 over X minus 25. 600 and 1800 over X. That's what you found in part 1. So this question is just about algebra, simplifying it all out. It's a 3-mark question. You take a common denominator first, and then you start solving. So this gets multiplied with X. This gets multiplied with X minus 25 equals to 8. So 1800 into 25. 45,000. Okay, and then that gets cross multiplied. So minus 1200x plus 45,000. 8x squared minus 8 into 25 is 200x. Moving everything to one side, 8x squared minus 200x plus 1200x plus 45. So 8x squared plus 1000x plus 4500. Now what I see from my equation is that there is just x squared, which means that maybe this entire equation divides by 8. So I'm going to divide all terms by 8, or you can sort of factor out an 8 and take it to the other side and solve it. So it's 1000 divided by 8. That's 125. So x squared plus 125x. 36. Okay, I think messed up the sign. It's a negative there. 45,000. Sorry, 45,000. Okay, have I gotten this number correct? $45,000 divided by 8, yeah. Okay, so that's my working for that. Let's see what the marks are for. It says solve the equation, then showing your working and giving each answer correct to one decimal place. So this is about the quadratic formula. So minus b plus minus root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, then putting the numbers on a calculator. I am getting 35.1 and negative 160.1. So those are the two answers that I'm getting. 160. Okay. It takes Amira 25 minutes less to drive the final 10 kilometers than it takes for the first 30 kilometers. Calculate Amira's average speed in kilometers per hour for the whole journey. When I'm talking about the whole journey, it's total distance over total time. Obviously, I can't take x as negative 160.1. Why? Because x was basically the time and the time cannot be negative. So I'm going to take the positive time. I'm going to say that the first time that I had was x minutes. So time for the first part of the journey is 35.1. It says it takes Amira 25 minutes less to drive the final 10 kilometers. So time, that's time 1. Let's call that time 2. If I subtract 25, I get 10.1. So what is the total time? It's the total time is 45.1. Okay, what's the total distance? The total distance is 40 as before. So I'm going to say that the total distance is 40. So the average speed then becomes total distance over total time. So that's 40 over 45.1 divided by 60. 40 over 45.1 divided by 60. Okay, I am getting 53.2, correct to three significant figures. I will have to check this answer. Okay. Yeah, that is the correct answer. All of the answers are correct. So we can quickly move on to the next question. Okay, now this one is about triangles. You see a right triangle, so it's probably about Pythagoras theorem. You see, you can have question from any area, and that is how it works. It says the diagram shows a right angle triangle with dimensions given in centimeters. Show that 5x squared plus 30x minus 39 equals to 0. Now, it's not telling you anything else. You see the three sides are labeled, so you probably have to figure out that you have to use the Pythagoras theorem yourself. So hypotenuse squared equals to perpendicular square plus base square. So expanding this, 9x squared plus 30x plus 25 equals to 64 plus 4x squared. So 9x squared minus 4x squared plus 30x plus 25 minus 64 equals to 0. So 5x squared plus 30x 25 minus 64 minus 39. Okay, yeah, that's the correct solution. Then it says solve the equation. So minus b plus minus root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so again writing this and then putting the numbers on your calculator and giving two final answers is the right way of doing it. You should ideally sort of do this much working. Any working below this might not get you marks. So 1.10 is the first answer, correct to two decimal places, and the second answer is minus 7.10. Let me check if those are the correct answers. Yep, that is the correct answer. Okay, then it says calculate the area of the triangle. So the triangle is basically half into base into height. Okay, my screen is a little slower. Half into base into height. So the base is 8, the height is 2x. So I'm going to use which value? 1.10. So half 8, 2 into 1.10. Okay, so that's about, I think, 8.8. That's simple calculation, I think. 2 divided by 2 into 8. Okay, that's it for the first part of algebra word problems. I will be back with another part uh, as a follow-up to this. Okay, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more videos.